Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I bought this fancy new tripod that I'm going to be using to give you guys better shots. I've been working on making the videos better, so let me know if it's something that you've been noticing or how I can improve, because I'm always open to constructive criticism. And today we're going to be doing something that a lot of you have asked about. The comments have been filled with this question and I'm finally making a video about it. So today we're going to be putting these 8th gen Civic SI fog lights, and with a little tap you'll be able to do what I'm about to show you. Alright, so usually these cars, when they do come with fog lights, the base models don't, you have to have the headlights on to have them on. But with what I've done, you can do this. You can have your fog lights on without needing to have your headlights on. So you can have them all the time if you so wish. They're still hold on, let me turn off the fan. They're still independently controlled by the factory switch, as you just saw me turn off, but you can turn them on and off anytime you want. And they're also nice and bright yellow. I do have LED bulbs in these, but these housings are also made of plastic, so they don't shatter as easily as glass ones do. And it's a really cheap, awesome mod for your car. So let me show you how. Now that we've got the car in, we can get started. And I think one of the coolest parts about doing this mod is that you don't even need to lift your car up. You can just do it on a flat surface. So I've got the things that we'll need here on my first gen CRV table, because I'm a Honda nerd. First thing we're gonna do is pop the hood and then take these fog lights out. I always put the hood in service position, which is the taller of the two. And to pop these fog lights out, it's just a 10mm. On the side here, it's kind of hidden, but it's right up top on the two pieces of the grill. It's the upper one. I'll show you in detail when I go to do the second one. But it's just one little 10mm bolt, and it's got a slot, and there should be a wire connected to the bulb. But this one wasn't even hooked up because, yeah, this car's not that great. Alright, so if this is your front bumper, you'll see that right underneath there, right here, is a little 10mm, and that's the only thing that holds this in place. You take that off. One eternity later. Come on, guy. It's being a little camera shy. It's okay. And it just pops out. You gotta slide it towards the middle of the bumper because there's a retaining tab in this corner. So you pop it out like that. It just comes out. Again, usually there's a bulb hooked up, but my car's not that nice, and then I always use a little magnetic dish for the hardware. Alright, so now we're going to unbox these fog lights, and you're going to need a Phillips screwdriver. So in the box, you'll have a wire harness, which you don't need, the fog light assemblies, which you do need, and a switch, and some wiring stuff, and other interior bits that are for the 8th gen SI, which we will set aside. So the first step is going to be to take apart the factory fog light. It's got a Phillips screw holding it on one side, the other one's a pin, and it's got an adjustment screw at the bottom. So you're going to undo both of these. They might be very rusty, like in my case, and they might fight you. I'm actually going to grab a number 2 screwdriver because this is a number 1. There are different sizes of screwdrivers. And in the past, I have had to cut the old housings out of the way. See, this one actually came undone. You can see it turning. That one I'm going to have to fight. I'm going to try a little bit of heat, but since it is a plastic housing, I don't want to melt it. And this is a shouldered screw, so make sure you save that. Then you undo the adjustment screw here at the bottom. Until it's all the way back and can be removed. So this has a little spring which puts tension on it, and it'll change the pitch of the fog light so you can adjust the aim on it. Once that's set, you see this side is already loose. All you got to do is pop it out of the other side, and the assembly comes apart. You're left with just the bezel for the fog light, which is what you'll need. I'm going to go ahead and get this one off camera, and I'll see you after. All right, I went ahead and got everything torn apart. This one did fight me a little bit, but I was able to get it. And now make sure that you have yourself organized so you know what is left and what is right when you're looking at the car. And it will matter, even with the new stuff, because of the way the brackets are. You'll be able to tell because the fog light will have a curve to it. And when that curve is going with the bumper, the adjustment screw will be at the bottom. So that way you'll be able to tell what is left and what is right. Now that we've got the fit housings ready, we can get the 8th Gen SI fog lights ready. And it's going to be basically the same thing. You're going to undo the screws that mount them at the sides. This one does have a screw on both ends, and they're not shoulder and they're smaller. And then you're going to undo the adjustment screw as well at the bottom. Now these shouldn't fight you because they're brand new, so this should go by quickly. As I take forever to undo the adjustment screw. You will need to separate. You see how it kind of clips in. You'll need to put a little bit of pressure to get the light out, and those you won't need. Grab the spring. And then what you can do is take the 8th Gen housing and you put it on the bezel and align the holes with those right there. And the way that I do it, just because it's easier, is there's not a whole lot of space in here, but there is on this side. So I do the edge that doesn't have a whole lot of room first, and I like to use a little bit longer bolt if you can, because they are the same thread pitch. So that shoulder bolt, that's what we're going to use. Going to go in there like that. Going to pop this guy in place and start it by hand. Oh, I have it backwards. It goes this way. So I'm starting that by hand. And then you can get a screwdriver here at an angle, like that. And tighten that up best as you can. And then we can align this side. It will be a little bit of force needed. You can trim the inside of the bezel if you really want. I don't. I just push it together. I don't know if you'll be able to see where this hole is here, where this is over that way a little bit. You just push them together and they fit. So on this one, you'll be using the factory screw that came on this new kit. It is pretty short. You won't have a whole lot of thread engagement, so just be aware of that. So now you've got your pretty new yellow fog light in a GD3 bezel. Make sure they're both as tight as you can get them. And then we'll need to swap the adjustment screw bracket. Again, on this one it's new, so it's nice and easy. On the old one, it might fight you a little bit. They do have a retaining pin just above the screw, so you've got the screw there and the retaining pin up there. So it might be easier to just wiggle it out. Again, you don't need that part, but you do need to get the old one, which of course is going to fight me. So I'm going to do off camera, and I'll see you in a minute. Quick little tip here, if you live in the Rust Belt like I do, this is really difficult to come off, and I started getting it to turn after applying a little heat to it. I was making sure that I was facing away from the plastic adjuster clip here, but I put some heat in. I was able to get it to start turning with the Phillips screwdriver, and then it got to the point where the torque was making the screw head strip. So I cut a little slit, if you can see that. Cut a little slit in it with a cutoff wheel, and then with a nice, thick, flat screwdriver, pops right out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the other housing. I'll see you in a second. All right, once you got the brackets off, you're going to need to flip them. Left to right, right to left. But not just right to left, left to right. They're actually going to go the opposite way. So you'll have your fog light and the pin and the hole. And instead of it going inward, it's going to go outward. Now, it will get very close to the housing, but it will fit. You're going to have to snag it through. And then you're going to use one of the short, tiny little black screws that came on the 8th gen fog lights. And get that tightened up. Just like that. And you'll see that these aren't perfectly aligned, so you just need to come back here and bend this guy just a little bit. Like that, so that they line up better. You can play with it. Don't be too rough. You don't want to snap it, but just so that they're a little bit more in line. Doesn't have to be perfect. There. You're going to take the new spring that came with these and put it in between. And then you're going to take the old, longer adjustment screw with the washer, and you're going to feed it through. Make sure it goes through the entire spring and start getting it to tighten up. On the adjustment bracket, like that. I'm not going to go much more than that because I don't want it to be too high up. I'm actually going to loosen it up just a little bit. And I've already gone ahead and did that. Same treatment to the other side. So next up, we'll put them in the car. Now this next part is very easy. It's just reversal of removal. You'll fish through here for your wiring. I've got a terrible, crappy, rusty bulb that I will be getting rid of. You'll make sure that the new bulb clips in, and then slide it in. You'll have to go towards the outside, and then the 10 mil goes right up top here. If I can find the hole. There it goes. Got that started. Now what I like to do is just get it started a little bit with my 10 mil here. Just a little bit, and then try to pull on this corner. Make sure that this retaining tab is all the way in. Just pull on it, make sure it doesn't pop out. So do that to both sides. And when you are getting down to really putting some torque on it, it doesn't need to be super tight. It's just going in plastic, but push it in towards the bumper so that the fitment is as good as it can be. And that's it. And I'm using a really tiny short ratchet, so I can't put a lot of torque. I'm not messing that up. I'm gonna go ahead and get this other side done. There we go. And now you'll have some beautiful yellow 8th gen SI fog lights installed on your Honda Fit. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I need to have my headlights on to have my fog lights on also. That's not what your other car is like. And also, I didn't have to have my hood open for this entire install. Well, that's where this guy comes in. This is a fuse tap. And what we're gonna do is change where the fog lights get their power from so that they don't need to have the headlights on to be on. You can just have them on. When you turn your ignition off, they'll turn off so you don't randomly leave them on and drain your battery, because I've done that a lot in previous cars. I had this done a little bit differently. So let me show you how. So the first thing you're going to do is come inside your car. If mine looks a bit of a mess, it's because I'm redoing all of the interior on this disgusting thing, so excuse the mess. And then you're going to want to grab a Phillips screwdriver, and there's going to be 3 screws. At the bottom of the steering column here, you can see I've already taken off this piece, but there's 3 screws there. Pop that off. You might need to move the lever out of the way and drop the column down, so that then you can grab the top piece and move that out of the way. There's also a tab here, a lock on the bottom that you will turn and remove this to gain access to your fuses. Once you've gained access to your fuses and you've removed your column plastics, you will come back here, and on the far left side, it's the control for your headlights and fog lights. There's a pin. It's got a little locking tab right there. You'll push that in and pull this back and be taking this harness out of this loom, which is what we'll be working on. If you want to make things a little bit easier, you can also take out this little guy here and it'll give you a little bit more access for the whole loom. Once you've got your harnesses, what you're going to want to do is remove the electrical tape at the top and remove the harness from the plastic conduit. Once you've got a couple inches of exposed wire, just like this, you're going to want to remove the electrical tape that's holding both of these plugs together so you can have a little better access to the wire that we need to reach in order to do this modification. Once you've got both of your harnesses separated, you can set aside the white plug, because we won't be working with that, and grab the gray plug. On this gray plug, there will be a red wire with a yellow stripe. You can see it's right here on the corner. It's the second wire in from the outside-most edge when this is plugged in on the bottom. And that wire is your trigger that allows the fog lights to turn on when the headlights are on. So what you want to do is come in here and separate that wire so that we have better access to it right here, like so. Just separate that out of the loom so that you know exactly what you're working with. Once you've got that wire separated, what you want to do is come down here. You want to give yourself at least a couple of inches worth of wire. Grab some cutters and snip that wire in half. Just like that. We'll be working with this part of the wire that goes to the plug and capping off this wire that goes towards the loom. There's multiple ways you can cap that wire. You could use heat shrink, electrical tape, or you could do what I do, which use a crimp-on cap that ensures that it won't come off even if you tug on it. So it's, for me, one of the best solutions. Make sure that, you know, if the tape ages and the adhesive starts to fail, you know, that's not an issue here. I am still going to use some tape to go over it and make sure that nothing can get it on the backside. I've not had issues doing things this way, but use your preferred method. This is what works best for me. Your next step will be to strip this wire, as you can see I've done here. And then you're going to find a matching piece of wire. You can actually get some from the kit. You can take a bit of wiring from that fog light wiring that was included in the kit, and you're going to run it here behind the dash through the bottom, through there. You can zip tie it to this harness if you want to keep it out of the way, and have it pop out this hole right here. You can see here I've crimped a piece of wire that is of the same thickness. I believe this is 16 gauge as what's on the harness. It's roughly a foot long. And now what I'm going to do is route this through here and out this hole right there. If you can see the wire, and just go ahead and try to route it all with the harness. Just like that, so that it pops out of this hole. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and retape these two connectors together, put the loom back over them, and plug them back in. Alright, you can see here everything's loomed back up. We've got that red wire popping back out, and then two plugs are plugged back in. Now you're going to take a look back here at all of your fuses. And the one that I like using is number 27, which is for the accessory socket. I don't know if this will do its job. Apparently not. But it's a 15 amp fuse. And that guy is right on the side right here. This one right there. So these are numbered. Just below the fuse, you'll be able to see that they have numbers on them. If I can get in here. So you're going to pull number 27. Now you do have a fuse puller built in right here. So you can grab that guy, go to your fuse, and pull it just like that. Now you do want to make sure that the circuit that you're using is actually an ignition based circuit or accessory, not something that's always on. So I'm going to use a power probe. It's one of my favorite tools when doing electrical, hooked up to my battery. That will tell me if it's getting power when the ignition is cycled on. If you'd like, you can use a test light, whichever method. Just make sure that you check that the circuit that you're using is going to be something that turns off with the key and doesn't just stay on, because if it does stay on, your fog lights can stay on all the time, and that way you can drain your battery. It's happened to me in previous vehicles like that Integra. Once you've got your 15 amp fuse pulled, you'll want to grab your add a circuit, and you'll see how the wire is attached to that outermost on the right side, and then this inner one doesn't have a wire attached to it. That's the one that's going to take that 15 amp fuse that we just pulled. Now they are a little tight, so you're going to have to push that in there. And then for the one that we're adding, you're going to grab a red 10 amp, and put it into that second location. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and attach this to where that 15 amp fuse was. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get in here and put it in there just like so. And then you're going to take this wire and you're going to crimp it to this. Now I'm going to shorten mine and attach it to this harness right here, just so that it's nicely tucked out of the way. So I'm going to shorten it maybe that much. So I think in the end you'll probably need somewhere around 10 inches worth of wire. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, let's try this out. We'll do switch to off, key on. You'll see there's nothing on the dash here for fog lights. That's headlights. That's fog lights. But I don't have to have headlights on to have fog lights on. I can work them independently. So right now, the car will have no headlights on, but both fog lights on. And when you turn the key off, you don't have to worry about them staying on and draining your battery. Your last step is just going to be putting everything back together. So your fuse cover goes in here like that, clips in, and then it's got the little twisty guy. You've got your top cover for that guy, and then the bottom goes back on with 3 screws. And after you get your 3 screws done, it should look a little bit like that. And if your car is more than one piece and minus, go ahead, take it out and enjoy your new fog lights. But until I can do that, I have a lot more work left to do to get this interior to where it needs to be. So I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that you go out and do something on your car, and I'll get back at it so I can get you another video of detailing and refreshing the interior on this thing next week. Thanks so much for watching. See you on the next one.